Hello, I'm Toy Cat, and welcome back to our second channel geography video. This is a series where we talk about geography and the world and stuff. And today, I actually wanted to talk about maps. I know, on a geography channel, that is shocking, but no, most of the topics that we choose and have chosen for the past, 5 years here, have been about geopolitics in some form, about countries and nation states and human geography, etc. But today I wanted to talk about actual physical maps. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I have a pretty pro-human stance. I actually am a big believer that humans do mostly good things, or at least humans have done more good things over the time than have done bad things. And I feel like maps are actually a great way of showing that off to the world. I mean, if you look at this map of not only London, where we're going to focus today, but also of any of these place names that you see right here, these are all places that humans have built. You might want to fact check that one, be like, you know what, there's no way all of these places can be built by humans. That seems incorrect. But if you check any one of the place names here, you might be like, ooh, Katowice, was that built by the humans or was it the giraffes? Nope, definitely the humans. Ooh, I don't know, are you sure humans built Snozozodok? Nope, definitely the humans and not the ducks. Humans built every single place here. Maps are kind of like this diagram, the representation of the things humans have done, and that's why I find they're incredible to look at. But also, it's incredible to look at maps because it kind of shows you a glance if you look at them historically, just how much we've done in a short period of time. I mean, when you look across, especially Europe, such a densely populated continent, it's kind of hard not to be like, yeah, there's just stuff everywhere. It's hard to know what came where and when. But what is really interesting is to look back a little bit, and so that's what we're doing in today's video with the biggest city in Western Europe, London. It's the place where I live and where I'm, indeed, where I am going to. I bought a new house there recently. I'm going to be talking about some other time. But before I can talk about that, let's talk about how I bought it, because this video is not sponsored. Tricked you. Yeah, you thought that was going to be a sponsorship? Nah, the reason I do so few sponsorships, by the way, compared to most YouTubers, is because I get a lot of sponsorship offers and I turn most of them down. And I'd love to pretend that's like for artistic integrity purposes. It's solely because if I'd rather take one sponsorship for like $1,000 versus 10 for $100, or one for $5,000 versus 10 for $500. Do you like that policy, or do you think I should take more sponsorships and one, make more money overall, but like do more, you know, effort for it? Or do you think that do you like the policy of like, nah, I like knowing that when you advertise something to me, it's because you get paid with a capital P. Anyway, with that said, that was my sponsored spot. Let's talk about London. So if you look at London and then you look back at this website, I've got a friend who lives in London who showed me what London used to look like. This is a map of London from 1868 to 1873. It's funny, it actually took you couldn't just survey London in one snapshot back then, like you can kind of do right now. Instead, it was a 5-year survey published in 1880, and just over the last 150 years, it's shocking to see how much of London is actually the same. I mean, look how it's still a hugely densely populated city, but then it's also interesting to see how many places are different. For instance, the first thing that shot out to me, because the reason I'm using London as a great example is because I know London, so I know what things are kind of like now. It's interesting to look at London and be like, oh yeah, just south of the Lambeth Bridge, there's this huge, is it a park? Is it a pool? I'm assuming it's water. It's black and white. They hadn't invented colors back then. And so if you look at it right now, you can see like, oh yeah, so it's a big body of water. And if you look now, you can't see that there was ever anything missing in that shape, which is really interesting. It's now a DoubleTree by Hilton. Great hotel chain, probably. I don't doubt. The MI5 secret security service, or the security service, sorry, not secret. I guess if they were secret, they wouldn't have a Google Maps location there. There is the Altitude London, the Tate Britain. All of these things exist on land that didn't exist, apparently, in 1873, which is interesting enough by itself. But as you move along the Thames and you see there's like a fair few of those, it gets really interesting when you get to East London. East London is the most recently industrialized part of London. In the east of cities, traditionally is where the most what's it called, white collar work. That's where the least development occurred usually, for a bunch of environmental reasons you can look into sometime for yourself, but the east of London is no exception, and what today is like a bunch of areas where people do live used to be places where people do not live. And the greatest example of this is Suffolk, which is I think that's how you pronounce that borough. You know, I don't even know if it's a borough, but I think it's Suffolk. I think it's a borough. And if you look at the borough of Suffolk now, you can see right here, besides Suffolk Park, which has apparently survived, this is now where people live. Look at all these houses that they can live in now that they couldn't live in because there weren't houses then. In fact, most of the reason that there's so few houses here is because they built railways here when there were no houses, and now they have like a hard time filling in those gaps with places for people to live. So even though it's a part of London with lots of connections and transport, it's got so many railways. Seriously, look at a map right here. 1 railway, 2 railway, 3 railway, 4 railway, 5, and then maybe 6 over here. There's a lot of going in different directions to different places on the overground, national rail. It's a whole mess of railways, basically. Because so few people lived here, they could just build a line, even though it's what? I'm going to guess like 4 kilometers outside of central London. So this is apparently 3.5 miles away from the very center point of London, and it's 3.7 kilometers, 2.3 miles from the city of London, where all the business happens. But yet, no one lived here because, again, it's in the east of the city. Nowadays, it's heavily developed. But the craziest place to get, I mean, actually, if you look at all of the Rotherhithe area, all of Surrey Quays as it's now known, you can see this used to be a bunch of ponds. If I'm not mistaken, hope I'm not getting the story wrong, this is a bunch of the Surrey commercial docks. Used to be the place where goods were unloaded from places as far away as Canada, and so they had a bunch of docks here. Like, seriously, look how many docks used to be here. Look how many houses exist here now. In fact, the only 2 docks that remain are Surrey Water and this one doesn't know. Is this also Surrey Water? Whatever, the only dock that remains is Surrey Water and something else that's here. But even this one right here, if you look at this right here, this remaining dock that exists, it's like, oh, actually, that used to be the Albion Pond and the Canada Pond. Or maybe it was the Quebec Pond. But either way, you can see they actually cut those ponds significantly to make way for a giant shopping centre. And in beautiful British fashion, that giant shopping centre contains a Tesco. So this Tesco used to be a commercial pond called Canada Pond. And isn't that beautiful? That like this turned into this. And you might think like, yeah, 150 years. But this happened in like the last 50 years. That is the... See, they've been paying... tribute to that heritage with some ship flags or something like that. Isn't that fascinating? That like, yeah, if you don't look at maps from the past, if you're born in 1995 like I am, you might just assume that like, yeah, 26 years ago, man, I'm turning old soon. Anyway, so you might assume that like, yeah, that Tesco's always been there, and for most Tesco's there probably has been a building of some form, but no, that actually is part of a dock that connected this dock to that dock, I'm assuming. Yeah, oh, actually, there was a big gap in the connection there. I don't know how that works at all. I guess this would probably be Quebec Pond. Anyway, so this was all docks. Now it's where people live, and it's where there's a Pizza Hut and a Frankie and Benny's and a Hollywood bar. You know that's a good location to go as a result of that. Anyway, so you look at the map and you see the reality now. It's changed a bunch, but the most staggering one of all... Also, wait, and here's the interesting thing, right? So, because there were so many docks here, which had goods from faraway places the UK owned and traded with, like Canada, see, Canada Pond, Quebec Pond, etc. When they redeveloped the area and put land here, they built a tube station, and you want to know what they called it? Canada Water, which is if you've ever been through London going to Canary Wharf, because that's why people... that's how I've been past this place, which giant roundel. That's the reason it's called Canada Water. There used to be water here, and the water had the name Canada, so despite being a train underground, the station is called Canada Water. Wow, interesting stories of Toy Cat. So Canary Wharf, like I said, that's the place that very few people live here or work here and live here in comparison to this economic behemoth. If you live in the UK, you know Canary Wharf. Maybe through something to do with Doctor Who, maybe through your own like stuff. But if you look on the map right here, you can see that what is now the financial kind of capital. Is it the capital? It's debatable as whether it's the capital or not, but it's one of the largest financial hubs in the world. Is previously 2 big water pools, another big water pool, some fields, and then even more water pools. And here's the funny thing about that. You might assume when I'm going to show you the map, like, yep, they filled in the pools like they did over there. I mean, it's the heart of the financial world, but interestingly, if you look at the map, you can see they reclaimed some of the land, but the South Dock and the North Dock, I'm assuming, yep, the South Dock and the North Dock. Isn't that weird that land just appears? It's because it's a floating, like, I don't know if it's floating, but like it's actually on the water. If you look on the map, it's kind of like a boat. It's pretty cool. You should go to Canary Wharf sometime. It's a cool place. Anyway, so if you look on the map, you can see it's been shrunk a little bit, but it's like, oh, they kept both of the ponds. In fact, I was speaking to my friend Kobe in history, and apparently the reason for this thing right here, which is the only one of them that, as far as I can tell, is entirely gone. Unless maybe the South Dock is now... oh, no, that is the South Dock. And that is... I guess the North Dock was just renamed something like that. So I guess they filled in West India entirely, which is kind of interesting by itself. But the South Dock, which is now that thing right there, used to just be in existence because there was a one-way system on the Thames. So you could, like, have boats go across here while some boats go around there. And it's so interesting that there were enough boats coming into London at that point in time that they had to have, like, boat traffic, whereas now, no boat traffic in London. And, you know, again, Canary Wharf, I can talk about, like, it's changed a lot, and maybe it's not so interesting to you. Maybe if I show you maps, you'll be interested. You know what? Darn youth these days, needing to see images to be interested in places. Here is Canary Wharf in 1980, so 50 years ago, 15 years before I was born. Here is Canary Wharf 25 years after I was born. Wait, that maths can't add up. It was 40 years ago, so 25 years after I was born, sometimes known as the present, here is Canary Wharf. This became this. This to this in 25 years. Like, people talk about China when they talk about, like, oh yeah, a city popped up out of nowhere. And admittedly, you know, Canary Wharf is, like, very close to London. It's so close to London that if you're not from London, you'll just call this London, right? It's within the London words on a map. See, look, that London is... Oh, actually... wait, there we go. The London words on a map vaguely come close to covering Canary Wharf. The N in London sometimes is in line with Canary Wharf. Therefore, it's basically London, but it's actually pretty far away. This whole thing, this Isle of Dogs, used to just be like a little place where some, like, docks happened, etc. But it was land so unvaluable, people didn't even convert it from being, I'm assuming, fields and swamps or whatever it was. People didn't even bother converting it, even though it was that close to London. And now, I wish we'd have Rightmove up. Now you can buy a house there for the better part of £1 million if you'd like to. Isn't that beautiful? And now you can go to Asda, which, again, you know, I said that Tesco was the peak of human accomplishment, but then you see an Asda, a 24-hour Asda, and then you realize, actually, no, I was wrong when I said that Tesco. You assume the Tesco would always be there, but you'd be wrong. But a 24-hour Asda, that is human accomplishment. Is it 24 hours still during COVID? If so, that'd be nice, right? Oh, no, it opens at 6 a.m. What am I meant to do for my grocery needs between midnight and 6 a.m., Asda? Man, how does that even make sense of the pandemic, you know? It's like, oh yeah, so because of all this human-to-human contact, what we're going to do is we're going to limit the hours you can come in store, so there'll be more people in there at a time, so you have more human-to-human contact, you see. That's our plan to fight this disease that thrives on human-to-human contact. Anyway, whatever. So with that said, this is the Isle of Dogs, a place that is that looks like this on a map. And isn't it great, by the way, that I can highlight the Isle of Dogs on a map? So I'm talking about maps and historic in London. Isn't it cool to look at this? Look at anywhere in London and it'll be kind of shocking to me. Like, okay, let's find... I'll look at this, by the way. We could find some stuff and it's interesting. But what's interesting to me is, like, you might assume you have to find an old map of where you live. Look, it's literally got a sheep on there, by the way. By the way, okay, wait, we're on one of the great things about this is, even though this is the financial center of, like, the UK, just to the south, there is actually a farm. That sheep is a legit thing. And you know the stop name for it? It's called Mudshoot. There is a city farm called Mudshoot that you can visit if you'd like. And isn't that quirky? There's also a World War II gun here. That makes things even more interesting. So, yeah, things are interesting. Did you know that? Bet you didn't know that. What else did you not know? Allow me to tell you. That's the whole point of this channel, right? Things you didn't know things you didn't need to know. So, what else do you not need to know, but you're gonna learn anyway from this video on the internet with this weird rambling British man? Well, allow me to tell you that, you know, this thing with Canary Wharf is not just applying to a single city. I mean, I'm talking about a city I love, because I like it there. But allow me to show you how it can actually refer to a country. Oh, damn it, I picked the wrong map here. A whole country, a continent maybe. Here is a map of North America in 1830. It's a pretty cool stylized map by a guy on Reddit called Map and Rum. But if you look at this map, you can see, like, oh yeah, this is what North America looked like in 1830. And at the time, you probably would have assumed that, like, yeah, this is how I'll stay for a while. There's Britain, there's Russia, there's the Mexican states, and the United States, which is confusing because Mexico's official full title is the United Mexican States, and then there's the United States of America, and it's like, but isn't this in America too? But anyway, so with that said, there's like 4 powers in North America in 1830, but you look there now, and it's free, and the balance between them is so much less even, right? Like United States, Canada, Mexico. The United States could take both at the same time in an arm wrestler. I don't know what point I'm trying to make here, but at the time it was a much more even division of land and a more even division of everything else. Let's be honest, Russia didn't have much. Let's be honest, the British lands here were a lot more in contention and were more backed up by the British, but there was like some contention there about who was the most powerful power. And then you see today where it's like global superpower, country of cute type of geese, and country of very delicious food that costs $1. And it's like, is that offensive? See, like, I can be mean to Canadian geese, but I insult the taco, and I might have gone too far. Mexico is a delightful place that I'll be spending some of my next few weeks. Anyway, that said, so before we get any offensive, so the interesting thing about this is you might assume you have to look at maps or images or things like this. Here's the great thing about Google Maps. You don't have to look at old maps to see what London used to look like, or whatever city you want to live in, or whatever city you do live in or looks like, because all you have to do is go to Google Maps and be like, wow, this is London Bridge Station. I like London Bridge Station. And as far as I've ever been concerned, because I never came here before 2018, London bridges always look like this. However, it's shockingly recent how like garbage, like if we go to just 2012, you can realize like, oh, there used to be a co-op bridge here. That like these all used to be restaurants, etc. This used to be just a regional London train station, but in the course of like 2014, still just a regional London station where it looks like they're gonna change some things. They're gonna have better connections across the southeast, and then 2017 comes, they're doing some serious work. They make the roads smaller. 2018 comes. Oh, it's happening, it's there basically, and then 2020 comes. Now it's a mega train station with this for some reason. I still don't know why this exists. I've been to London Bridge like 5 times now. Why is that? And I always see this and I'm like, why do they have an exit to the station that's like gated off? Like it's not inside the barriered area. Why does this exist? Can someone in the comments tell me? I tell you facts you don't need to know. You can tell me that fact. But like it's not just like train stations or anything else like that. You can look at pretty much anywhere in London and be like, okay, here's 2008. The olden days, as far as I'm concerned. Here's a really this is near Piccadilly Circus. It's Leicester Square. It's a 6-way roundabout. Look, 1, 2, 3. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Isn't that interesting? 6-way roundabout. So you can see how this used to just be a junction in the middle of the city, but then the area got more tourist heavy, or more maybe they wanted to make it more tourist heavy. You can't tell which way the causation happened, but if you go between October 2008. Where there's this like weird slip road there where like you can cross the road any way you want, but there's not many street lights besides over there and over there. So the road went from being that, whereas now in April 2018, which is the current year, as you all know, you can see how they filled in that road. I'm pretty sure at least. Yeah, they filled in that road. They widened the pavement significantly. Seriously, look at this. This used to be a car heavy place. Now it is a place for pedestrians where a car can go through every now and then if they want to. They've put crossings across all of this, including down the center here. Look at this. This is actually they did it in 2012, but they put crossings everywhere around here. They made this place a pedestrian friendly place. And is that good? Is that bad? Depends on if you're a pedestrian or a car, I guess. Anyway, so with that said, the other interesting thing they did is look in 2008 and how it's like, oh yeah, there is not only this building, which is kind of sad. It's not a great building, is it? But also look at this sad little restaurant. I hate sad, fancy places. Like, you can't be fancy and sad. If you want people to spend a lot of money there, you can't have a sad thing like that. And indeed, the business world agreed with Toycat because in 2012, they were still not out of business. But in 2015, the UK's first Five Guys, or one of the first 5, opened here. It was so busy they had a line. This is when I got my first taste of Five Guys, and I vowed to tell the internet about it. Also, has that tree always been there? Is it new? No, the tree has always been there. Why is there? I've been here so many times and I've never noticed this tree. It's blowing my mind a bit that there's a tree here. Like I've been looking at it on Google Maps this whole time too. Also, look, they're growing this building up from this little height. They're refurbishing it. It's gonna be some brand new building, I assume. Isn't that exciting? Maybe a hotel to boost the touristness of the whole area. Seriously, is that tree has been there forever? I've been here like dozens of times, and I've gone to that Five Guys many times from this direction, and I've never seen the tree. Are we sure the tree exists? I don't know that we are sure that the tree exists. So the other point I wanted to make is that we're seeing changes happen all the time, not just on a scale of 2008 even, to 2020, or a scale, again, 1880 to 2020, sure. 1980 to 2020, sure, of course things will happen. But like even 2008 to 2020, like this station having a McDonald's finally, so you can grab a burger and then go to your train, as opposed to grabbing a corporage, I guess, and grab a beer. You know, maybe the beer would be better for your train journey, but grabbing a beer and then not going on your train. Look at this building right here. What is this? Did they remove that entirely? They did. Huh, that's so weird. There was like a building that's like that thin. Why does it exist? I'm so confused by so many things. See, you see this? You can spend so long going down rabbit holes and it's nice. Do you have too much time on your hands? You do. It's 2020. Go look at old maps. But also, just realize that it's not just old maps. Not even 2008 to now that things are changing. Things are changing in the last 10 years. Like, the biggest example we can point out is, like, here is a map of European Union countries in 2016. In yellow is candidate countries. In blue is EU member countries with their 2-letter EU code on them. There is GB. Wow. Here's the craziest thing, right? You're never going to believe this. Did you know the UK left the EU? I bet you haven't heard it anywhere else on the internet besides just now. This is a thing that happened in the last 5 years. In addition, by the way, it's less notable, but Bosnia and Kosovo went from being like they went into the status of being recognized as a potential member. It's a potential candidate, which is the most bizarre thing. But like previously, if you look. Bosnia, wrong map. Previously, if you look, Bosnia, Kosovo, not even spoken with. But now it's like, you know, if you want to put in an application to become a candidate, you can do that sometime. You know, the EU and its layers of bureaucracy. It's funny, you can see it even on this map right here, and like all the weird asterisks that are applying right here. But my point is, literally in the last year, actually in the last like 4 months, this has changed as a result of a vote that even I participated in 2016, and that's going to happen all the time, and it's hard to see until you see it, I guess. Maybe I'm being cynical in some ways, that lots of changes we like to believe are important don't go anywhere, but maps are changing all the time, not just from 1830 to now. Is this 1830? This isn't 1830. From 1830 to now, but also, for instance, you know how I can show you what, I don't know, I think I showed you Budapest on a map earlier, right? Here's Budapest, a city famously not built by geese. Humans, by the way. So notice how Budapest you can show on a map. You can also show off countries on a map. Here is Slovakia on a map. Great country. Would recommend you check out the Bratislava. Although it's really kind of far off to the edge of the country. It's a big shame. Anyway, so Slovakia. What a delightful place. And you can see it on a map with red outlines. You can see this for most countries around the world. Not Turkey. You can see this for most countries around the world because most countries have fixed borders. However, again, like even though sometimes they're hard to work out, there are mostly fixed borders. Even on this map, you can see like, ooh, is Rupert's Land, I think it was called back then, the Oregon Territory, American or British? They had to work that out. This is that I've wanted to make a video about that for a while, even just because it's like such an interesting part of history that we like gloss over to get to the present. Anyway, but if you look like India, the world's second most populated country, about to be the world's most populated country, where are its borders? We genuinely cannot say. Where is China's borders? We genuinely cannot say. All of the borders between, like, look how many different borders there are around here based on who you're listening to about the borders. And it's pretty wacky. Pakistan as well. No one knows where these countries end and begin, and there's a pretty big difference in it. Countries will literally gain or lose huge amounts of territory based on this. And it's one of those disputes that will just be settled at some point in the future. In fact, India and Pakistan have regular skirmishes about it, and they're both nuclear powers illegally. So that can only go good places, I'm sure. But the fact is, there are crazy things about to happen all over the world, all the time. Georgia has 2 independent republics inside of it that are slowly inching their borders forward every day. If they recognize them, then that would change the shape of Georgia officially. Not really in practice, but officially that's a big change. So my point is Georgia an EU candidate country? I bet it's not. Let's look at the map. It's not. They should apply. I guess they wouldn't enjoy. Like, I guess that would probably, like, inflame tensions with Russia if they even, like, dared to become a potential candidate, which is, I guess, another funny thing about this map. But speaking of funny things about maps, all of the things about maps, they're all funny. That's my point of this video. That's why I thank you for, I'd like to thank today's video sponsor, Money. I'm a fan of it. You should be too. It's good for you. It can solve some of your problems in life. Not all of them, but some of them. And that's why I recommend you check out Money. Use coupon code TOYCAT to get 10% off your next ATM withdrawal. And so with that said, I appreciate you watching this video, because if you liked it, then that's good, and that's probably what I was going for. Or maybe I made this video for me. You ever considered that? You know, everyone's always like, thank you for making this video for me. Maybe I made it for myself. Man, Dumplings Legends is clearly a place so popular, it's lasted 3 years. So that's a good sign, right? Whereas Lotus Garden has also lasted 3 years. However, the Betfred across the street, you know, not much changes in Chinatown. That's what I'm taking from. You see, 2016 to, there we go. The Oriental Delight, not a very good convenience store. That's why Tianfu Lucky Foods took it over instead. So, with that said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the buttons on YouTube, and I'll see you all in the next one. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds like an ending to a video. Oh yeah, the third channel and the second channel have been getting blurred recently, so check out Andrew Andrews. It's a YouTube channel I have that was meant to be for McDonald's reviews, but I can't go around the world to eat McDonald's right now, so I resort to making walking videos across the city and finance videos instead that maybe you'll find interesting. Or maybe you won't. Let's be honest, it's the internet. There's a lot of things on here that you hate. Most of the internet is bad things that you'll hate. And the fact that you don't the fact that you don't need to care about that is kind of beautiful. So, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in another one. Second channel. Don't care. Goodbye.